This time last year, I was really struggling. I had just had my twins, and for the first 2 months of their life, I had 3 kids under the age of 2. I was living far away from my family, I had postpartum depression, and my husband was working nights and working very long hours. It was probably the hardest season of parenting I've experienced yet. But surprisingly, it wasn't hard because of twins. In my experience, twins were actually pretty easy. Part of it is my twins' personality. They're very, very easygoing, very chill babies. But I had already had 2 singletons. I had already done the baby thing twice. I had already started to experience navigating, helping my children build good relationships with each other. I had already gotten an idea of what it was like to have 2 little children need me at the same time. So in a lot of ways, I really felt prepared for having twins. I also found that twins are easier because they're not harder. What I mean by that is it difficult to be up all night with twins? Absolutely. But it's no different than being up all night with one baby. If you're up all night, you're up all night. So the things that I found challenging about having 2 babies was really not that much different than the things I found challenging about having 1 baby. And sure, sometimes the logistics of having 2 small babies was a little bit harder than having singletons, but in the day-to-day, in the normal mundane life, I'd actually say that twins were maybe even a little bit easier than singletons. So I hope that gives you encouragement if you are expecting twins right now and you're very scared. If you already have 1 or 2 babies, you might actually find it to be a little bit easier. But I want to be honest about what was difficult for me. What was difficult for me was balancing the needs of 4 young children at once. I was honestly surprised that this is where I struggled because when I had transitioned from 1 kid to 2 kids, I did not experience that at all. I found it pretty easy to balance both of their needs, and that didn't really affect me. So when it affected me going from 2 to 4, it just threw me off. It just felt like such a drastic change because I doubled the number of children I had. It was really hard with my toddler at the time, especially because he is a force. He's so sweet and so lovable, but I'll tell you what, he is strong. Like very, very physically strong and very strong-willed. And I found it very difficult to keep my babies safe from a toddler who loves with all of his physical strength. And at the time my twins were born, he was just in general very rough with other kids. So overall, I found it very difficult to juggle 3 kids under 2, also while homeschooling a 5-year-old. It was a very overwhelming season. And so I just want to share some of the things that I did to get through that season, besides just calling my husband and crying every night on the phone to him while he was at work, because I definitely did that. I do just want to introduce myself real quick. My name is Dee. I make content on home management, homeschool, and home life. So if this video makes you feel like home, please hit subscribe. And if you're expecting twins right now, give it a thumbs up. Okay, so what I did. The first thing I want to share is that I cut out the artificial dyes from their diet. Now, this was not the first thing I did, but it's the first thing I wish I had done. If you are expecting twins and you have a toddler and you're wondering how you're going to get through this toddler behavior and have twins, let me tell you, cut out the dyes. This decision made all the difference. It was night and day with my kids' behavior, and it made being able to handle twins so much easier. I wish I had done that before my twins were even born. I could have saved myself a lot of tears. My force of a child became very gentle and very sweet and very loving, all by just changing his diet. So if you're gonna do nothing else, just try this. I am going to be coming out with a whole video explaining my experience about going dye-free and the benefits that we've seen and the before and after, and kind of diving into that. So make sure you hit subscribe and turn on your notification bell so that you know when that video comes up. But before I cut dyes, there were a few other things I did to really help, such as I took drives every single day. Praise the Lord. Like, I truly, truly thank Jesus every single day that my babies like being in the car. My first 2 singletons hated the car. They screamed every time they got in, but my babies loved it. So every afternoon after my husband would leave for work, I would load up the kids and put them in the car and go for a drive. My bigs would watch Schoolhouse Rock and my babies slept, and I was just able to breathe. The next thing I did was I accepted help. I had been in a couple twin groups on Facebook, and not everybody's advice was, just accept the help. And I was so frustrated at that because I felt like I didn't have help. My family all lives 2,000 miles away. The people at our church wanted to help us, but they really couldn't because we live on a military base and most of them don't have base access, so they couldn't even get to my house. And my friends that did have base access, they all had little kids. And this is before I cut out dyes. And before I cut out dyes, my toddler was very rough with other kids. And I couldn't bring other kids into my house because he would have hurt them. And I was struggling to take care of all my kids. I couldn't be making sure that my toddler wasn't hurting somebody else's toddler at the same time. So I felt like I had no help, but after I had my twins, I realized how much help I actually did have. Our church, despite not being able to come help me physically in my home, they were able to help other ways. They were praying for me, which I definitely needed. I was able to utilize the nursery. If I went to a church service that my husband couldn't go to because he was working, they always helped me out to my car. Like, I had so much help. This one really nice couple from church had the kids and I over for dinner about once a week. They were able to help me just keep an eye on my toddler and be able to take care of my babies, and I was able to spend time with them, and it was such a blessing. And sometimes my best friend would come over and she would just hold a baby, which was really what I needed. And so many people, friends, family, people from church bought us diapers, and that cleared up so much room in the budget so that I could also pay for help when I did not have help. I was able to hire a preteen neighbor to come over and help me twice a week, and she would just play with the toddler while I took care of the babies and the 5-year-old. She was able to get some babysitting experience, and I was able to have some help. I also bought a gym membership that had childcare. And I think the last thing I did that really helped me get through that season was I was able to alternate naps between the babies and the toddler. You need to go lay down. I was able... Would I have liked it if my kids all napped at the same time? Of course, but I think it was better that they didn't. By having the babies nap, the toddlers nap, and then the babies nap again, it really, really helped because I was able to just focus on 3 kids at a time instead of 4. I was able to give my bigger kids the attention that they needed, and it just helped lighten my load. So yes, that season was very hard, but it did get better. And it was a learning process for sure. But I'm telling you what, if you are expecting twins, it is the coolest experience. And it is worth every hard day. And I hope that this video doesn't scare you, but I hope that it helps you prepare for what is to come. I wish that I had been more prepared on how to balance the needs of all these kids at once. And I wish that I had more tools in my tool belt for this very unique situation I was in. So I hope you're able to find ways that you can make this an easier season on yourself than it was for me. So if you're expecting twins and you have a toddler and you just don't know anybody who's gone through that, you can always leave a comment here, even if this video is months or years old, and I will reply and I will try to help you as best I can. I'm happy to share what I've gone through and maybe what I did in that situation. I don't know if it'll be a help to you, but I'm happy to share. But at the end of the day, just remember, I'm just some lady on YouTube.